the street.
All right, so... Oh, okay. Move the camera back forward. Here we go.
Yep. Good.
Is that good?
Perfect.
Thank you, Zisha. All right, let's go. So, Reb Itche Volozhner, famous Rosh Yeshiva, head of a yeshiva, he traveled around to collect money for his yeshiva. And went from city to city, and he lived about 200 years ago. He was very, very famous Rosh Yeshiva. He was famous throughout the Jewish world. And he came to this town, and the whole town came out to greet him. Everyone comes out to see Reb Itche Volozhner, famous Rosh Yeshiva. Hey, Pejam, Shalom Aleichem. And everyone's very excited that Reb Itche Volozhner has come. Shalom Aleichem. Hey, long time no see. Everyone comes to see Reb Itche Volozhner. And there's such a racket. Everyone's trying to push to see, and the people are starting to get hurt. So Reb Itche Volozhner says, guys, relax, let me tell you something. I never understood in the Torah where the Torah is talking about counting the Jewish people. And this week where you have the Parsha Shkolim. The Torah says you shouldn't count Jews directly. Instead of counting a Jew, you're supposed to count money. Count a half a coin. Every Jew gives a half a coin, and you count the half coin. So you never understood why does the Torah say you have to count the half coin. The Torah says, why should I count the coin? Yes, this week. It's the Shabbos either before the month of Adar or the Shabbos of Rosh Chodesh Adar itself. So I never understood when the Torah talks about the half shekel. The Torah says that you should count the Jewish people by their money, so nobody should get hurt. So I never understood why count them by their money so no one should get hurt. What is the connection? Tell everyone, if you don't want to count them directly, then count them. Let everyone give a stone. You don't want to count the Jew because that's considered ayin hara. It's not considered a good omen. So count everybody by everyone should give a rock. Why does everyone have to give a half a coin? So Reb Itche Volozhner says, now I get it. Shantal Moshe Rabbeinu, you have to count all the Jewish people. Everyone should come, make sure they get counted. Everyone's going to come. Everyone's going to come. And Moshe is getting hurt. 600,000 men pushing, count me, count me. So Moshe Rabbeinu says, no, I'm not counting stones. I'm coming to get a half a coin from each person. Oh, you're coming to get money? So then everyone slowed down a little bit. One person came 2 days later, one person came 4 days later. No one's rushing. Similarly, Reb Itche Volozhner said, guys, I'm not coming to give out blessings. He said, I'm coming to get money for the yeshiva. So no reason to push. That's the Reb Itche Volozhner. There's one thing you don't have to explain. You don't have to explain money. Everyone knows what money is. Money is something everyone knows what it is. Everyone knows and feels the concept of money. But in this week's Torah portion of Parsha Shkolim, we find an amazing thing. God tells Moshe Rabbeinu, he tells Moses, tell the Jewish people, everyone has to give a half a coin. And what happens? Moshe Rabbeinu says, doesn't know what it means. He has no idea what it means. What doesn't he know? What doesn't he know? How come he can't figure out what Hashem is telling him? Everyone should give a half a coin. Everyone knows what money is. How can Moshe not know what a half a coin is? The Gemara Yerushalmi talks about this Jew named Reb Nachum, the Holy of Holies. Why is Reb Nachum the Holy of Holies? He was called the Holy of Holies because he never looked at a coin. He never looked at a coin, he was called the Holy of Holies. Why didn't he look at a coin? Reb Nachum didn't want to look at a coin because on the coins they used to have these images of idol worship, and so he didn't want to look at the coin. But Moshe Rabbeinu, he's a leader of the Jewish people. He grew up in the house of the Pharaoh. He knew all about all the people, and he grew up with the people, and he grew up in the house of the Pharaoh. Why does he not know the meaning of the half coin? What is his question? What doesn't he get? What is he asking God? What is the problem over here that Moshe Rabbeinu does not understand? What is this half coin? What doesn't he get? So I want to say two ideas about this question. But before we do, let's analyze this question of Moshe Rabbeinu. This wasn't the only thing that Moshe Rabbeinu did not understand. The Gemara says there was actually several things he did not understand. Moshe Rabbeinu did not understand the laws of the new moon. He did not know how to make the menorah. And he also did not know the laws of reptiles. Reptiles. How do we know this? reptiles are like snakes, non-kosher. So the other things that Moshe Rabbeinu didn't know, those ones you could understand why he didn't understand. Why didn't he understand it? Because those other laws that Moshe didn't understand required a lot of knowledge. For example, God told Moshe Rabbeinu that you should, every month should be calculated according to the new moon. So you have to know what is the definition of the new moon. How do you calculate it? Till today, one of the hardest sections of Jewish law are the laws of the calculations of astronomy of the new moon. So, right. So, yeah, you try to read the Maimonides section on the laws of Kiddush HaChedesh, and it's
pay attention, you get lost. If you don't, you fall asleep.
Yeah, it requires a lot of knowledge. So it makes sense that Moshe Rabbeinu needed God to tell him more about it. In fact, the Torah uses the words, "This is what it is," on each occasion that Moshe misunderstands. Each occasion that Moshe does not understand what's going on, the Torah uses the words "Zeh." This is what it is, because Moshe doesn't understand. So in regards to the new moon, the Torah says that God told Moshe the moon says this is the time, this is how you calculate the new moon. In regards to the laws of reptiles, also makes sense that Moshe did not understand, because he's in the desert. He wasn't in a Japanese restaurant, so he didn't have all different kinds of reptiles to show the Jewish people. God had to show him this is a reptile that's kosher, this is a reptile that's not kosher, this is how it works. In regards to the...
Because it didn't have rules like Mafresa's house. There's no rules, there's certain reptiles that are kosher.
Grasshoppers, till today, the Taimanim eat certain grasshoppers.
Moroccan also.
Moroccans?
We don't know them.
Yeah.
We don't know the grasshoppers.
Right, with the Ashkenazim we don't know them.
No.
Anyways, in regards to the... there's a whole section of the Code of Jewish Law, the laws of grasshoppers.
Right.
You had some? You ate some?
6 years ago.
Okay, all right.
I remember there was in bag, fabric bag. You know the old fabric bag.
Okay. You know what? I'm not jealous. But I see you have good memory.
You get them glazed or deep fried?
Okay, let's go on. So,
I heard glazed is better.
all right. So, there's a fourth occasion where Moshe does not understand the law of Hashem. Hashem told Moshe Rabbeinu, you have to make the menorah. How do you make the menorah? So, the menorah that was used in the tabernacle had to be made out of one solid piece of gold. And it was a very intricate. And so God had to tell Moshe Rabbeinu how to make it. God had to actually make it for him, because a human being take like one solid piece of gold and to make it into this old intricate menorah.
Where did they find the gold?
The Jewish people gave gold. They were very rich and they came out of Egypt.
Oh, they made
They donated lots and lots of gold.
They bought it. Okay.
So the question you had wasn't where to get the gold. The question was, how do you build it? So in each occasion, the Torah says, this is what it is. Those words, this is what it is always referring to a situation where you're showed where the person pointing is saying this is what it is with his finger. Like, for example, it says when the Jewish people crossed the Yam Suf, they crossed the Reed Sea, it says, each person says, this is my God and I shall glorify you. And the Talmud explains there were children there, and they were the first ones to recognize the godly entourage, the angels, because the angels are the ones who raised them in Egypt. So they pointed their fingers and said, this is what it is. This is my God. They knew Hashem. They knew the angels. But it makes sense, all the other situations. All other situations required some kind of knowledge. But this situation, where God tells Moses, everyone should give a half a coin, what's the problem? Why does Moshe not understand? Why does Moses not understand it? And also, what's God's response? It says in the Talmud, God took out a half coin, a coin of fire from under his throne of glory, and he said, this is what you should give. What's Moses' question? What's God's response? Obviously, this is very deep, but what's going on over here? Tosfos, he says that the Gemara actually doesn't mention the situation of the coin of fire when it lists the other three. Why not? Tosfos says an interesting thing. He says the other three, Moshe just had a difficulty with. But this case, the case of the coin of fire, he had no idea what was going on. regards to the menorah, he had some knowledge. He had to make a menorah, but he didn't know how to make it. Regards to the different insects. But this one, the coin of fire, when God says everyone should give a coin, he had no idea what to do. And the question is, what's so hard to understand? There's also some hamburgers left. It's kosher. Every Thursday is kosher. I don't know about Shabbos, but so far we're doing good with Thursday. Thursday is kosher. So, what's hard to understand? I mean, Moshe Rabbeinu, he had children, right? What does a child say? Hey, Dad, you can have some coins for the soda machine, right? Moshe Rabbeinu never bought something and got change. Sometimes your children say, hey, Dad, can I have $1? I don't have any money. Oh, they go into your purse. They go into your wallet. Hey, you do have $1. What do you mean you don't have $1? Not you, other guys. Anyways, so, hey, Shomechanu David. So what does it mean Moshe Rabbeinu doesn't understand? What doesn't he understand? So this is the question of the Gurarye, the Maharal. And before we get into this question, let's ask another question. Why are we reading about this Torah portion this time of the year? How come we add this Torah portion, in addition to the regular Torah portion, Mishpatim, we add this section about these coins all this week? Why do we add that section now, middle of this Shabbos, the blessed is the month of Adar? We add this section. Why do we add this section now? So one explanation is that every year Jewish people had to give half a coin, towards the purchase of all the sacrifices of the year. So all the Jewish people every year had to give a half a coin, and they would use the coin to buy the sacrifices for the entire year. When did they have to start using the new money? The new money was started to be used when? The first day of Nisan. Very good. So they announced the first day of Adar, everyone should give their half coin. So that way when the first of Nisan comes around, everyone will have their half coin. So, hey David, Shalom Aleichem. So, that's why we read this Torah portion, to remind everybody, now is the month of Adar, everyone has to remember to give their half coin, so that's why it's read now. That's one explanation. Another explanation. Another explanation is like this. We're coming close to the holiday of Purim, and on Purim we find the following scenario. What happens on Purim? Haman comes to Achashverosh. He tells Achashverosh, I want you to expel all the Jewish people, or worse, Haman asked to kill, expel out of the world, exactly. He wanted to destroy all the Jewish people. Now, what does Achashverosh think? 1 second. You're not paying their taxes, are you? They bring a lot of money to the government. What do you mean they kill them? What do I want to do with all the taxes, all the business they bring into the country? So Haman says, I am paying their taxes. I will give you 10,000 kikar kesef, 10,000 measurements of silver, and in exchange, kill the Jews. How do you come up with the number of 10,000? What does that mean? 10,000 silver coins, and then why that amount? So Haman told Achashverosh, the Jewish people, he wasn't just telling Achashverosh, every time the Megillah writes the word Achashverosh, the Talmud says Achashverosh means God. The word Achashverosh, the king of Persia, is made up of two words, first and last. Because Achashverosh represents God, who is the first, existed before all mankind, and he's the last, he exists forever, he's eternal. So Haman represents the Satan, and the Satan comes before God, and the Satan tells the God, the Jewish people are scattered. What does it mean? What does that mean that they're scattered? That they are, the words he called Achashverosh were, Yeshnei Amecha, there's one nation, Mufuzer, Mufurad, B'chol Medinas Machosecha. They're scattered throughout your country. The words Mufuzer, Mufurad, he wasn't just referring to how they're scattered and that they live in different places of the country. He was emphasizing how they are all, no, that they are discord. They don't get along with each other. They're not united. And that's why Esther, the first thing to rectify that situation, what did Esther say? Go gather all the good Jewish people. Get them all together. Someone told me today, I don't like it, but whatever. Hamas. Hamas is an acronym for Chassidim, Misnagdim, Ashkenazim, and Sfardim. Our problem is that we don't get along.
Say that again.
No, I don't want to say it again. You didn't hear it? Then forget it. It's not a nice thing to say, but the problem is that we put labels on each other and we divide each other, and that's where Haman enters. Hamans of the world enter when we don't get along, because we say in our prayers every day, "Bless us, our Father, always." When we're together, no one can touch us. So Haman wants to kill the Jewish people. So what does he say? He says, "God, they don't get along," and that's why he gives Achashverosh the 10,000. Where does he get the number 10,000? What does it come from? 10,000. 10,000 kikar kesef. How much is a Jew worth? They say that Sir Lord Montefiore, once in his travels, he met a ruler of a certain land, I don't remember who, and he says this ruler wanted to expel the Jews from his kingdom, he wanted to kick them out, and Montefiore and him are discussing how much Montefiore should pay in order to let the Jews stay. So the king, at one point in the discussion, the ruler says to him, "Well, how much do you want to pay for each Jew?" So Montefiore tells this ruler, he says, "From my perspective and your perspective, there's no commonality. If I would ask you how much is a Jew worth, it's not even a penny. If you ask me how much is a Jew worth, it's not enough money I could possibly own ever to pay for even one Jew. So there's no commonality." So where did Haman get up the figure of 10,000 silver measurements, 10,000 measurements of silver in exchange for all the lives of the Jewish people? Where do you get that from? So the answer is like this. When the Torah says that the 10 brothers of Joseph sold Joseph, how much did they sell him for? It says they sold him for 20 pieces of silver. 20 pieces of silver divided among 10 brothers equals how much? Two. 2 pieces of silver, the type of silver that the Torah is talking about there, equals up to how much? Equals up to a half a shekel. A half of the shekel measurement, that specific coin, is equal to 2 pieces of silver. So when the brothers of Joseph sold their brother, they were selling it so each person could have the 2 coins, which is equal up to the half shekel. To get the half of shekel HaKodesh, half of the holy shekel, that's what each of the brothers of Joseph got in exchange for selling their brother. So Haman says to God, "Listen, I want to show you how much discord there is among the Jewish people. Look what they did to their brother. They sold their brother, each person sold their brother for what? What did they each get out of it? Each one got out of it a half of a shekel, a half a coin, and in exchange for a half a coin, they're willing to sell their brother. So you see how they don't get along. They're ready to sell their brother. So why are you taking care of them? I know you're the guardian of the Jewish people. You love them. They're your people. But listen, look what they're doing. They couldn't care about each other. They're ready to sell their brother for half a coin. What they do with the half a coin? They sold their brother to get shoes. Each one bought a pair of shoes with the money they got. They sold their brother for a pair of shoes. Was that worth it? A pair of shoes? Well, depends what kind of shoes, right? Anyway, so what does this mean? What's going on over here? So that's why Hashem tells us, in order to be the antidote, in order to defend the Jewish people, Hashem tells the Jewish people at this time of the year to read the story of the half shekel. All the Jewish people gave 600,000 half coins. How much did that equal up to? The 600,000 half coins equaled up to altogether the 10,000 kikar kesef, 10,000 measurements of silver. So the Jewish people got together and they say to Hashem every year on the Parsha Shkolim, they say to Hashem that we recognize that we're not separate. We're all uniting together. We're all going together to do this mitzvah, and we're all buying the sacrifices for the year. We're all united together to do this mitzvah. We're not separate from each other. And even more, when each of the 10 brothers got the half coin, when they divided it up, they got the half coin, each of them realized the message of the half coin. What's the idea of a half a coin? Why specifically a half? Imagine we sell the aliyahs over here in Shul, right? And the aliyahs get sold for all kinds of prices. $5, $10. Imagine a guy says, "I'll give you a half a dollar." It wouldn't last too long. Half a dollar. Why did the Torah over here? Everything in Torah is always perfect. Everything in Torah has to be perfect, perfect, perfect. Here the number is, how much should you give? A half a coin. What's the idea of a half? The Torah is telling you, you without your brother a half. Every Jew without the other Jew, you think that you're okay by yourself. And think about it. What were the Jewish people without Joseph? Imagine if Joseph would have been killed. Who saved all of the Jewish people? When there was a famine around the world, the brother they sold saved them. So it wasn't just like theoretical that every Jew without another Jew is a half a coin, you can't survive without your brother. The brother that you're saving might be the one that comes around and rescues you one day. Besides rescuing you one day, before that even happens, he's your brother. He's your other half. You can't survive without your brother. So, there's an interesting halacha. Halacha is that you're forced to give the half coin. One of the commentaries say, there's a law in the Torah that if someone, there's certain laws in the Torah where the Jewish court enters and forces the two parties to agree. What situation? It's called Midas Stoim. Midas Stoim means when there is one person has nothing to lose, another person has everything to gain. So the Torah says you force him. You don't ask questions. You force them. Like for example, if I'm selling my field, and my neighbor would really benefit owning the field more than anybody else, so the Torah says you're forced to sell it to your neighbor. You have to offer it to your neighbor before you sell it to anybody else. You don't lose anything by offering them to him first. You have everything, and he has everything to gain. So too with regards to tzedakah, in general, the Torah says that tzedakah is something that you have nothing to lose from. That's why God showed Moshe Rabbeinu the coin of fire. What's unique about fire? The Ohr HaChaim says fire is one of the unique substances in this world that when one candle lights another candle, nothing is lost from the first candle. So if you light 1,000 candles with one candle, what will you have? You have 1,001 candles. You don't lose anything. So the Torah is telling us by the coin of fire, you might say, well, I don't want to give away, I don't want to lose. So the Torah says you're not going to lose. In the words of the Gemara, there's never been a situation, a person doesn't never get support from tzedakah. On the contrary, the Gemara says by giving tzedakah, that's how you get rich. So instead of giving it away, by giving away the coin, not giving it away, you're getting more. There were these two partners who, time of the Alter Rebbe, where they didn't get along. They divided up and they broke their partnership. And one of the partners was very upset at the other guy, and he decided to inform the government whether he made it up or didn't make it up. But the other guy had to sit in jail for 2 years. He sits in jail for 2 years, comes out of jail. And after being in jail for 2 years, he starts to go back into business. He's successful. Meanwhile, he hears this guy who had been in jail for 2 years finds out that his partner, who had informed the government on him and he'd put him in jail, he finds out that his partner is now also in jail. So what does he do? He goes over to the wife of the guy in jail and he says, tell me, how much do you need to survive every month? What do you need to float your boat every month? She had no idea why he was asking her, because she knew that they were the ones who got him in prison. So, but she told him. He said, okay, it's on me. I'll take care of this. I will pay for this. And the Alter Rebbe heard about this. And they say that the reason the Alter Rebbe added in chapter 12 in Tanya, he adds words over there describing what a Jew is supposed to be. He says in chapter 12 in Tanya, a Jew is supposed to be somebody who learns from Yosef, who, when someone acts bad to them, they do the opposite, and just like Yosef, although his brothers sold him in slavery, he was kind to them. That's what a Jew is. A Jew does the opposite towards a person that wronged him. He doesn't not only doesn't take revenge, but the Alter Rebbe says the words "ligmul lachayavim teves," to do kind to those who've wronged you.
You can't be too empathetic. You can't just be like every time someone even the bill, whatever, anything, you say, oh, it's fine, whatever.
You're saying that he was completely fraudulent when they had him go to jail. Complete fraud.
What?
He was completely fraudulent when they put this guy in jail. It was a complete fraudulent thing.
The first guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, he just informed the government on him. He just ratted on him and got him in trouble. I mean, even if he did it, even if it wasn't fraudulent, it's a difference. The Torah says you're not allowed to inform another Jew, even if he's guilty.
Yeah. You know, that's almost impossible thing to do.
Not to say?
No, it's almost impossible to show that level of kindness to somebody who's that guilty.
It's incredible. I don't know the details of the story now, but if you remind me later, I'll send you the story of the Alter Rebbe. There's a Chassidus Alter Rebbe who had a similar.
Wait, the Alter Rebbe added
a section of Tanya
because of this guy.
Because of this story. That's what I heard. Yeah. There's another story the Alter Rebbe I want to send you. Remind me later. The Alter Rebbe, the whole story of the Alter Rebbe, how he testified in a dream to one of his grandchildren about a certain chassid. His name was Reb Sender. And Reb Sender, Alter Rebbe said about him that he has such, in heaven, in Gan Eden, how he has such beautiful garments. His garments in heaven, his soul, such beautiful garments, whatever that means. And the Alter Rebbe said to his grandchild, I didn't understand why he had such beautiful garments until I heard the story of how he helped a person that wronged him. It's something incredible. And but the Torah is telling us that that's how if you look at another Jew, it's not just another Jew, it's your other half. It's your other half, and then it's not helping someone else, it's helping yourself.
Wow.
There was this Jew who was very careful to give meiser, to give 10% of his earnings to charity, and he became very successful. And as he became more and more successful, it became harder and harder to give the 10% to charity. I don't know if this is true, but I heard that Rabbi Yosef Gutnick, he's alive, you can ask him, I heard that the Rebbe told him he should be careful to give 10% of his earnings to charity. And he replied to the Rebbe, like, why 10%? Why not 20%? The chassid gives 20%. That 10% is the minimum. He supposed to give 20%. And I heard the Rebbe said to him, the focus, you should try to make sure he gives 10%. And I heard the explanation of it as follows. When you're talking about $100 million, then all of a sudden you start calculating the $10 million over again. out of $10, it's easier to give $1, but out of $100 million, give $10 million, it's already you already start making tricks. So, anyways, this Jew after you started to become more and more successful, he stopped being so careful about giving 10%. He started being more, as they say, fungible with the interpretation of the 10%. And he started losing money. He started making mistakes in his business. And he came to the tzaddik that lived in his town, and he said, what's going on? And the tzaddik says to him like this. He says, listen, God needs bankers. God appointed you as his banker. He let you be successful because he wanted you to give that tzedakah. He needed someone, he hired you as a banker. And when you started saying, I know it's too hard to be such a good banker, the money's too hard, so you decided to find someone else to be the banker. So that's why Moshe Rabbeinu that's what God is telling Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe tells the Jewish people, guys, everyone has to give a half coin. So Moshe Rabbeinu is wondering, 1 second, they're going to tell me, why should they give a half coin? Every Jew is going to say, let someone else give the half coin. I should give the half coin, let someone else give the half coin. Why do you want me to give it? So God responds to Moshe, it's a coin of fire. It's a coin of fire. You're not losing, you're gaining. But God's response to Moshe, it's a coin of fire. God's telling him, you should explain to them why they're going to give. Why they gain by it. They're not losing by giving. That's one explanation of the coin of fire. Don't think you're losing, you're gaining. There's a shliach of the Rebbe in Brazil, Rabbi Weitman. He was actually in Beis Betzal a few months ago. He once brought this gentleman to visit the Rebbe, and the gentleman left a large check to give to the Rebbe after he visited the Rebbe, and he calls Rabbi Weitman after a month. He says, tell me in Lubavitch they don't cash checks? What do you mean? I gave the Rebbe a check and never cashed a check. I don't know. He called up the Rebbe's secretariat. Maybe the check didn't come in, maybe the check was lost, what's going on? The check is on the Rebbe's desk, and the Rebbe didn't want to cash the check in. Anyway, 6 months go by until the check is cashed. The guy visits the Rebbe. The Rabbi Weitman went again to visit the Rebbe, and again he gives Rabbi Weitman a check. He said, let's see how long it takes him to cash this one. He goes to New York, he brings the check, and that day, he already gets the receipt. 2 hours later, he calls up this guy. He wants to tell him, I got. You want to know how long? I got the receipt already. He calls the guy. The guy says to him, "What's going on?" He says, "Listen, I just want to tell you about the check." Listen, the wealthy man tells Rabbi Weitman, "I want to tell you what just happened. My father was just in a car accident, and he came out with just scratches. It was a total miracle. 2 hours ago." 2 hours ago, he came out with scratch, just with scratch. He was fine. It's a miracle. He's in a car accident. He really got into this car accident, and it was really a bad car accident, and miraculously he came out just with scratches. So the idea is, when the guy needed the tzedakah to be given on his behalf, that's when the check was cashed. He needed the bracha then, 2 hours before, so that's when the check went in the bank. So our tzedakah that we give, we're not helping anybody else out, we're helping ourselves. The Gemara says that money needs salt. What does mean money needs salt? Just like when you salt something, you have to give it increments. If you give increments to tzedakah in order to keep the money, money needs salt. If you don't have salt, then it doesn't last. Money, just like when you salt something, like little pieces come out, right? Salt. So to money, to preserve it, needs salt. Means you need to give out a lot of money daily, tzedakah, in order to preserve the money. This is what the Orach Chaim says. The Orach Chaim says in this, not on the Parsha Shkolim, but in the Parsha Mishpatim, this week we're also reading about the laws of loans. In the laws of loan, the Torah phrases the laws of loans very interestingly. The Torah says, if you will lend the poor man money, who is with you? The poor man who is with you. In Kesef Talva, if you will lend money to the poor man with you. What does that mean? The Orach Chaim says like this. You see, you've made some money this month. You made money. You should know that's not your money. In Kesef, if you have money, that's from an ani imach. That belongs to the poor person in the first place. It wasn't for you. That's his money. That's why in Hebrew, the word for charity isn't charity. The word for charity is tzedakah. What's tzedakah mean? Righteousness, the right thing. I come over to Alan's house, and he passes me a tray of chicken, and I take a pulke, I take a drumstick, and I pass it down to Yisraelik. I'm not being charitable. I'm not being kind. He didn't want me to have the whole tray of chicken. He wanted me to have a piece of chicken. So I'm not being kind and charitable and generous. That's what it was for. So Orach Chaim says that that's the meaning of ani imach. The poor man with you wasn't your money; it was his money. And that's what the Torah says. Next line is don't lisil kanesha. Lisil kanesha literally means don't bother him. When you lend someone money, if the person cannot pay you back, and now to push them and bother them, you're not do that. But the word kanesha also means to lift yourself up over him. Don't feel when you see the guy you lent money to. Don't feel I'm worth $1 million. This guy's a schnorrer. I gave him money. You feel better than him because you lent him money. Don't feel you better than him because it wasn't your money in the first place. It's his money. You gave him what belonged to him in the first place. Don't be afraid to give. That's the Torah's telling us. Don't be afraid to give. You give, it comes back. So now I want to tell you another interpretation of the idea of the coin of fire. This is from the Rebbe. Moshe's question was something else. But if you understand the Moshe's question, I'll tell you a story. There is a emissary of the Rebbe in Belgium, Rabbi Shattai Savatitsky. One Sunday morning, this guy knocks on the door of his center. Sunday morning is usually a slow day in his center. And someone's knocking. Usually on a day people come to just randomly visit. Some guy comes, randomly visits, knocks on the door. Rabbi Shattai, I want to talk to you. And the guy looks broken. Who is this guy? This guy was the king of the diamonds. In Belgium, this guy was the guy. He was the one who was the most successful and really doing really good in his business. King of the diamonds, king of the diamond industry. And he looks totally broken. What happened? Why are you so sad? Listen, I need to speak to you. I need to confess to you. Confess to me? What do you mean to confess to me? He says, listen, I want to tell you what happened, Rabbi. A few months ago, I'm sitting with my wife. I see our kids are growing up. I have no connection with them. I'm so busy with my business. I have no connection with my children. I said to my wife, I got to do something. I'm going to start keeping Shabbos. Shabbos will be a day off. I'll keep Shabbos. I'll be with the children. And it worked. Keeping Shabbos. Until he said this week. This week is January 1st. And there's a time when December 25th, January 1st, the time when the business gets really, really exciting. And I really, I see all my friends before Shabbos, they're setting up and everything, and I'm thinking, what am I? And I try to go to home and try to keep Shabbos, but I'm so I can hear I see the euros, I see the dollars, I see it in my head. I know it's all happening. I can smell the money. I can see. What am I sick? I'm closing my store. I'm not sick. Why am I to open my store like everybody else? And I'm about to walk out, and I make a step to walk out of the house, and I say no. And I take a bottle of vodka, and I make kiddush and then I have some vodka, and I knock myself out, and I sleep through the whole Shabbos. So I want an atonement for my Shabbos. I broke Shabbos. Avatitzky said to him, I wish I had one Shabbos as holy as this Shabbos that he wanted atonement for. What did he mean? He meant that he knew how hard it was. How hard it is. That's the idea of the coin of fire. Moshe Rabbeinu's question to God was, they're going to give one coin, a half a coin, to be an atonement. You know what these guys did? What the Jewish people do? Why did they have to atone for anything? They had to atone for the biggest sin. The biggest sin is treachery. God gave us the Torah. What did? We went to serve the golden calf. So the Torah says, when you're treacherous, a woman who is treacherous against her, who is not faithful to her husband, or the husband claims that she's not faithful, there's a certain 100 silver coins, still is 30 silver coins, but not a half. Where does a half coin come from? How does it work that the half coin is going to work to be an atonement for such a grave sin? That's Moshe's question. They're going to give a coin. They did something that's going to be an atonement for them. Half a coin. How is that going to do anything? A half a coin. So God told Moshe Rabbeinu, you have no idea what what we're talking about over here. You know what we're talking about? We're talking about a coin of fire. When a Jew goes to work to make that money, he puts his whole heart and soul and life and energy and mind into that money. If a dollar could talk, it could speak volumes. When the Jew puts all of his hard-earned money, and he gives it away to somebody else, that comes from a very deep place in the soul, and that's why it causes atonement. In the Gemara talks about atonement for various sins. The Gemara says that the Arizal writes that for various sins you should fast. The Arizal says if you get angry at somebody, you should fast 151 times, 151 days. You got angry once, 151 days to atone for anger. So there's a lot of to atone for something that requires a lot of energy, and yet half a coin's enough. Why is half a coin enough? Because when you give money, is something that comes from a very deep place, and therefore to give that away, and it has a very deep, profound effect on the neshama and causes a tremendous kapara for the neshama. This wealthy man is walking with his assistant, and they're walking next to one of their projects, and some cement falls down from the building, and they both die. They come to heaven, and they think, in heaven we could probably the assistant. He's a chevraman. He knows how to get stuff done, and they tell the wealthy man and the assistant, you guys are going to hell. Hell. The assistant sees the angel. He says, "Angel, shalom aleichem." Thank you. He says to the angel, "Angel, I'll give you $100. Just let me go to heaven. Let me go to heaven." The angel says, "For $100, I'll let you go back to earth." He wakes up. He sees the mayor, the reporters. Like, what are you doing? We were preparing for your funeral. How did you come back to life? He tells them the story. I gave the angel $100, and I'm here. But where is the wealthy guy? He's still trying to negotiate him down to 50. Money has a deep effect on people, and therefore giving it away for the sake of helping someone else comes from a very deep place and causes a kapara. I want to tell you one more story. Is that okay? You show one more story? 5 more minutes. There was a Chassid the Alter Rebbe. His name was Rebbe Gavriel, and he was very, very wealthy, and he came to hard times, and really hard times, very, very hard times. And some emissaries of the Alter Rebbe came to him to collect money for a project. And when he sees them coming to him, he was so broken, just walked out of the house. He couldn't say no, but he felt so bad, he couldn't be part of this mitzvah. And to make the matters worse, he was being accused. People didn't like him in town. They were accusing the government. They were informing the government that he did different things, and he was really, really broken. What did his wife do? His wife saw how broken he was, and she realized that she needs to do something. She went into the drawer of their home, and she still had some. She came from a wealthy family herself, and she had some jewelry. Took the jewelry, she sold the jewelry, and she gave the she gave the money to her husband. And he said, "Take it fast before we use it." He takes it to the Alter Rebbe, and the Alter Rebbe opens the pouch of coins, and he sees the coins were sparkling. And the Alter Rebbe says that Bastina Bottledina, that the judgment basically against you is over. Used the Talmudic phrase, Bastin, that Bastin literally means the daughter of judgment, nullifies judgment. So I think he was alluding to the fact that his wife's sacrifice had caused whatever decision in heaven was for his suffering to nullify it. Bastin bataldin. The literal translation of that Talmudic phrase is something else, but that's Alter Rebbe said. Then the Alter Rebbe said that when the Jewish people gave different donations to build the tabernacle in the desert, none of them shined. The only thing that shined was the mirrors the women gave to build the tabernacle. When he came back home, he asked and the Alter Rebbe promised him that from now on he will find favor in the eyes of people, and that's why he was called Gavriel Meisachena, Gavriel who finds favor. And the Alter blessed him to be involved actually in making in diamonds. He came back home. He asked his wife, "How come the coins were sparkling?" So she said, "I decided to shine the coins." She literally was polishing the coins until that they sparkled. She said, "I was thinking if the coins were sparkle, this maybe will help our mazel to sparkle." Bottom line is, you help another Jew out, you don't lose anything yourself, and you can't ignore your brother. Every Jew is your brother. And bottom line is that this causes the greatest blessing for yourself, for all good things. L'chaim, l'chaim, v'bracha.